Are you ready to create a life you crave? Let's spin that doom loop of negativity into an upward success cycle and start living lucky.
Good morning.
I'm Jana.
I'm Jason.
And we are living lucky.
You are too.
I feel particularly lucky because we had a dance recital on Saturday. And people afterwards, they weren't coming up to me saying, "Oh my gosh, you guys were awesome on the dance floor."
We were awesome though.
They weren't commenting on our moves. They weren't commenting on the costumes that I made.
We had some good moves and costumes.
You know what they all said? There was a common thread. Everyone commented on the love that we share, the connection that we have. And people were saying, here's the question. Here's the number one question that I get no matter if I speak or no matter what I do.
Who's your instructor?
No. They say, how do I find a Jason? How do I find a Jason?
I received that. That's a compliment to me and to you, I think.
So, Jason, what is the secret sauce in being you?
I would say it is just to love fully. So if there is I think the energy that we bring is imagine you have a body and your body is a temple.
Yes.
And you have a protective barrier around yourself. Knock that barrier completely down, because if that barrier is resistant to you receiving or giving love in any capacity.
That's good advice. That is so good, because you know what? In my life, I feel like I do put up this barrier, and I am very, very particular with who I let in. Now, once I let someone in,
like the inner circle,
I love them so fully, like you and Tater.
Yeah, like Tater has she's unconditional love.
I think
do
you
no
are
wrong.
too.
But if I pooped on the floor, I would be in trouble.
I don't know. I pick up your socks almost
I know,
every single
but
day.
if I decided, hey, you know what, I'm tired of going into the bathroom, you'd be like, hey, I'm not putting up with this any longer.
You do wake up with your balls hanging out quite often.
Because it's hot. That's my self-contained air conditioning unit. We can't turn the air down any colder, and I have to cool down somehow.
Okay, we're a little off topic. So, but loving freely and not putting walls up, I think that is really, really key.
I think that's where my energy shifted, and that's where I really started allowing people in. And also, things changed for me. It was a new receivership for me, and also a new way of me giving.
Yeah.
And the more I was able to give. Do you have
any particular examples of when that shift happened?
I think it started in sales, actually.
I would say in sales, yes, but you had a different energy when you were in sales. I feel like your energy has shifted just in the last 3 years.
It has shifted, but I think it started. So the awareness of loving happened in sales because I was doing everything for gain in sales. And then it turned into actually loving my customers. Like it turned into providing a solution. And if I wasn't the right solution, like if I wasn't the right fit for them, it was helping them find the right fit.
That's so good. It's like when you go to the boutique and you're looking for a particular outfit, and the person helping you says, you know, we might not have exactly what you're looking for here, but I was just at the Mall of Millennia, and they have a store there that I think is exactly what you're looking for. And the minute that they help me get to where I want to go, I'm like, I will come back here and shop every single time.
And that's what happened for me. And so literally the people that were not my customers called me all the time for all kinds of weird things, but it was a relationship.
Yes.
And through understanding what relationships were, then I started calling them when I needed things, or when I didn't understand something or when I needed clarification or help on something. And it just created this new communication system where it wasn't about ego. It wasn't about what can I get.
There's that ego word again.
It was more about how can I give? Help each other?
How can
we love each other? And how can we help each other get what they need and get to where they want or get what they desire out of life and the experiences that they're looking for. Yes,
that's really good. That's really good. And I do think in a relationship when, I'm always put your own needs first. I do believe that. However, when it comes to Jason and I feel like we are so connected that I feel like I'm pretty in tune with what your values are. And so if I know something isn't going to uplift you, then I don't want to do it because I put love as my number one value.
Right. And I do the same thing. So we definitely are strictly values first. But it's like if something is detrimental to one of us, we're going to take care of ourselves first. So like our health, those things, because we want to be there for the other person always.
Yes.
And that's one of those things where it's like we will, because we're going to meditate every day. We're going to get in the right attitude first.
Yeah, it's my job. It's my job to show up as my best self.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that is me loving Jason.
Because if I show up like a turd, if I wake up in a bad mood in the morning,
please don't show up as
right?
a turd. I don't want to be married to a.
If I show up in a bad mood, if I'm grumpy,
bomb.
if I show up to a party and misrepresent myself in a crummy way, it reflects poorly on us,
on both of us.
And I'm like, that's not who I want to be.
Yeah, I agree.
As myself, even. But sometimes I have a bad day, and I'm like, I don't. And I'm just not being authentic to myself.
Okay.
Because I'm just like having a pity party for myself.
You just got like a slightly southern accent when you say a pity party.
Because I recognize
you sound like Paula Deen.
Because I've learned to throw these silly voices on myself when I'm doing things that aren't true to who I am.
Oh, that's funny.
And it helps me say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Because that's not you.
Okay.
You're putting on a show.
So when people come up to me, because they come up to me constantly, and they ask me, how do I attract a Jason? Jason, what would you say is the secret sauce to that? What is the answer?
What you do, what you've done is you've said, you know what? I'm fearless. I don't allow outside circumstances to dictate my life.
That is true.
I say
that is me.
My imagination and my determination are bigger than anything that life is going to throw at me, and I create my desired outcomes.
Yes.
So that when you do something like that, that creates this area around you that's so energetic and so magnetizing that says, hey, what's it like to be around this person?
So what I hear you saying is we attract what we are.
Yes.
We don't attract what we want. We attract who we are.
When we first met in 2004, it was during 4 hurricanes in a row.
That is true.
And we were alone.
That is true.
With not much.
God did me a solid.
We talked.
We had a deck of Old Maid cards.
Yes, and Totino's frozen pizza rolls in the freezer.
That is
And we talked for probably 10 days.
We did.
And there wasn't much else. Like, it was crazy.
Right.
But that was equivalent to like 6 months of dating. Like when you talk that much.
We talked.
And I got to learn so much about you and got to experience so much of you. When we met, I was convinced. I was like, I'm not getting married. She will be a friend. I was like, I'm freaking awesome. And honestly, I was like, and I'm going to have a wheelchair girl, like friend girl. Like, I was like,
Oh my gosh.
but it was like,
You're a chair chaser.
well, I wasn't a chair chaser, but it was like, I will have a friend that's in a wheelchair, but I would never marry. I'm not getting married.
Right. I know, I was the same way.
Like, I was so happy being single because I was like, I'm done with girl games.
Yeah, I know.
Done.
Girl games.
And then I met you, and this energy that you have and this person that you are made me go, I never want to be without
Boing. It made you go boing.
something like that. But I said, I never want to be away from this girl. And then you left for 30 days.
I did.
Or more to go to the Olympics.
I did.
The Paralympics. And I said, and then when you came back, I was like, how do I get to her quickest? And I met you in DC.
I know, that was so romantic.
And because I couldn't stand it. I was like, I have to be near you. And then we got back to Orlando, and I said, can we date? Can we be together? And and then 2 years later, we were getting married.
Less than 2.
Yeah. So it was, and I was like, who is this guy? But I was like, I knew that I couldn't live my life anymore without you in it. And that's how you get a Jason, is you be a person that creates your reality.
Yes.
And you be a person that says, I dictate what happens in my life. I create my reality.
I also want to say that through our relationship, we have evolved together. And I really give us both credit on that, because I feel like we've learned to communicate and we've learned to have tough conversations. Whereas when I see Jason coaches a lot of relationships in the Mind Valley community, and when I hear you talking to people or helping others with their relationship, I immediately see how we've become different. And many times I think, because of our circumstances, because I have a disability, and, molding those two worlds, we've had to learn to communicate differently. We've had to learn to navigate differently. We've had to learn to think differently.
And we've gone through our time in the desert.
We have. And it was in that time in the desert when we decided, you know what? It's all about the questions we ask. And seriously,
and when I say time in the desert, I mean like times where things were freaking hard.
Marriage can be hard sometimes.
Yes. Like things were like,
that's a limiting belief. However,
well, we went through it.
And I am grateful that we did.
Right.
Because I feel going through that actually took us to a
whole different level. I think we went through some difficulties that a lot of people don't make it through.
I will say that. And I also think that many times when people are going through those kinds of difficulties, they
push things aside,
or ignore what they turn a blind eye to what's really happening.
And a lot of times it's out of fear. Until it's too late, until you have to confront.
Yes.
And then we just said, I remember you said distinctly to me, we have to look at this.
Yes, we have to grow together. If we're going to grow, we need to grow together. And we
made a decision.
We're not being extraordinary. We are, both of us individually, were created on this planet by God. And he said, I'm going to create 2 extraordinary individuals. He's done that in all of you. Everyone that's listening, you are extraordinary.
Yep.
You are extraordinary. And we had a conversation where we said, we're not being extraordinary in our relationship. We are. That's one area that we have kind of just let coast.
We became complacent.
So
we were extraordinary
as well as
people
other areas
who
of our
got
life.
into this relationship to have an extraordinary experience of life. And we had become complacent in our relationship and in some other areas of life.
And we started looking at what we don't want, what's missing, what we could have had. I mean, that's all language that is looking in the wrong direction. And once you start asking those questions, then you are reverse manifesting, and you're actually causing chaos in your life.
You're bringing the familiar past and putting it into the unpredictable future.
Yes. So, I mean, when someone asks me the question, how do I attract a Jason? I simply say, write down everything you're looking for, imagine it, feel it, and then become it. Become everything that you want in a partner. Just become that, because we attract who we are.
Yeah. So, you know what? When we first started this and you asked me that question and I said, love fully, knock down that wall.
Yes.
I think what it came down to really is get into those higher vibrational feelings, those higher, be that person.
If you want to find love,
Be love.
have thoughts and feelings of a person that's in love. A person that's in love doesn't go, oh, I'm exhausted, I gotta go lay on the couch. A person that's in love doesn't say, I'm gonna just pig out and feel sorry for myself because I'm such a victim and life isn't fair.
And I'll never find anybody.
A person that's in love, you know what they're doing? They are so exuberant. They have this awakening about
and they're
them.
looking at life through rose-colored freaking glasses. That's what the saying comes from. Life is the most beautiful thing to them.
They're feeling lit inside, and they want to show up as their best.
Turned up what?
They want to be charismatic, and they show up there. All of a sudden, they're a little bit funnier. They become better looking. When you're in love, you become all these things. Why? Is it because you're in love, or is it because you're having the feelings that you're in love?
Because you're in that higher vibrational frequency.
Yes.
And that higher vibrational frequency is vibrating all of you.
Yes.
And it's bringing things to you.
Yes.
Because
it's a magnet.
it is a magnet.
That's
is
a magnet.
And when you're in those higher vibrational frequencies, you are living lucky.
So to make this full circle and to wrap this up, people say, how do I attract a Jason? Well, it is no accident that the year Jason and I met, right around the exact time that Jason and I met, I was just offered my dream job at Real Radio. I was on the Paralympic team, getting ready to go to the Paralympics. In Greece. So I was in the best shape of my life. And all of a sudden, this guy comes around. I mean,
looked like Adonis from Greece.
But what I'm really trying to say is, how do you attract a Jason? I was living as my best self. I was living as my best self. I was loving my life. I was loving it. And I was also very appreciative and content with everything that I had, because it was...
You were grateful in the moment. You were all the high vibration
I was
frequencies.
living in a higher frequency. And then guess who just happens to come along? My soulmate, who also was living in a high frequency at that time, because you were
top of his career,
a single guy in Orlando making lots of money, and it just felt
I was living life.
In fact, you had just gotten a promotion.
Yeah, I was doing it all.
And so we were both living in these higher vibrations.
Yeah.
Higher. It's all about how you feel. All right, that's enough for today.
When you got that swagger, you're living lucky.
That's right. Let's continue. Everyone is living lucky. Thanks for joining us.
Keep living lucky.
Bye-bye. If the idea of living lucky appeals to you, visit us at startlivinglucky.com.